Good afternoon, I'm Nicole Johnson. Today we bring you a half-hour special on gun violence and the emotional toll. Cities, including New York, in the crosshairs, battling relentless violence. The target? Often young people with so much to live for. Think about this for a moment. So far this year, more than 30,000 people died from gun violence in the U.S. That includes more than 1,000 teenagers and 200 children. Nationally, guns are the leading cause of death among children ages 1 to 17. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control. The Children's Defense Fund reports that black children are 6 times more likely to die from gun violence than their peers. Today, a candid conversation with 5 ordinary New York mothers who all share a common disturbing bond, the pain of losing a child. In the next half hour, you'll hear about their struggle to pick up the pieces, their fight for justice, and their inspirational road to recovery. Here's the first part of our conversation. Talk to me about how gun violence has impacted your lives. We'll start with you.
Honestly, I keep waking up on that same day that it has shattered my family, has destroyed my family, honestly speaking. And you have to live it to understand what is really going on. I wake up every morning, throughout the night. That day comes back every single minute. That day's play over and over each step. What if? How did this happen? Why did this happen? With unanswered, and it's a hard thing to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. I'm just trying, one day at a time.
How has it impacted your life?
It's just the most unbearable thing you can think of. I mean, I have other children and family. I'm just scared. You know, I worry about everybody and my family. I mean, it's like she said, it's every day. It's like it just happened yesterday. No matter how many years, it's just sad. You know, it's horrible. It's the worst thing ever happened to in my life to me.
Ms. Jennifer.
Since that day, it has been the worst day of my life, and it has truly impacted my entire family. Dawn left 2 kids, a 3-year-old at the time and a 17-year-old. And you know, it's hard when you have a 3-year-old that don't know what's going on, and she asks, "Where's my mommy?" I was in the house when my daughter was murdered, and every gunshot that went off, I felt it.
You never forget the day. The sting of death isn't as great as it was then. You know, it was like I felt like somebody body slammed me, it's unbearable. I remember things just as much now as I did then. And so just those memories of those years, you just hold on to them a little bit tighter, you know.
Miss Yvette?
He was a glue to my family. As young as he was, and he had older siblings, but he was the man. He didn't care how old he was. He was like, "I'm the boss of this house." And I used to be like, "You ain't the boss of this house." My family fell apart. My home was never the same from that day on. And when my son was murdered, all I had to hold on to was memories, videos, and now his urn.
We're talking about all the pain, the memories, the anger, everything that you're going through. Do you ever find a normal moment?
There's a lot of little memories that you'll come in, and she was always the funny one in the house, the laugh around, the goof around, and dancing, and never a dull moment. And I see so much of myself. I have 4 kids, but with Shani, I see so much of myself in her. And they took away a big part of us.
It seems like since that day happened, it seems like a memory pops up on my phone like every day with my daughter. And, you know, it's normal being around families. Sometimes the family don't know how you're going through and feeling it, and it's normal to explain to them.
Eventually, you'll learn how to deal with it. I don't accept it. I won't lie, I don't accept it. But I know he's safe and no one can hurt him no more.
One thing I'll never forget is leaving Woodhull Hospital, and coming out and realizing I would never have my son again. And looking up at the J train stairs, and those stairs are long. And seeing my son Justin come down the stairs and realizing I would never see them together again. And my child being innocently murdered, just waiting in front of a building, innocently murdered at the age of 21, having nothing but a dream, because you never are normal as you've seen it in the past. You must create a new norm with them in mind.
Welcome back to our special Gun Violence, Not Another Child. I'm Nicole Johnson. I sat down with some New York City moms who suffered the unimaginable, the loss of a child. Through their grief, they are working to create change, to spare other mothers the daily sadness they endure. Take a look at what they're doing. We've seen gun violence almost everywhere, in our schools, in the community, in churches, just on a street, folks waiting for a bus. It can happen at any moment. When you see other families going through the same thing that you went through, how does that impact you? Because we're seeing more young people pick up a gun and shoot young people.
It hurts my heart. It just bothers me that sometimes I don't want to watch the news. It's the worst.
True. That's so true. That's so true, because it's like, and you don't notice until you're in that position. Because this was going on before it happened to me, but I didn't take note on it until when it happened to me. Then it's like it's like a circle, and it keeps happening every day, something else, and it's all young people. It's all young. Like, I'm like, where are they getting the guns? Where are their mentors? They don't have people in their life, because I sit and talk with my kids. I talk with them, I get down to the average, sometimes we chit chat, we laugh. Kids is gonna be kids, I know that, but for my child, for Shani, she was just driving in a car with two boys and one of them in the back just shot her and killed her. You're driving in a car and someone took her home, or they were heading to the park, wherever she was driving, and the younger brother in the back shoot her and kill her. And that's just it. Where did he get this gun from?
When I lost my brother in '96, he was killed in Van Dyke Projects. It's a cold case. We called every day. We went to the 81st precinct, even though that wasn't a precinct. They really didn't help. My son, the 81st precinct was on it. They helped me. They did everything. I went there every day. I called. A week after he died February the 16th. On the 24th, the day of the funeral, they called me and said, "Miss McLean, we got an arrest." My grandson was murdered on Chauncey and Malcolm X, 22 years old, in the store.
Is anybody paying attention? Is anybody hearing your story? You know, I am my case is still under investigation, and I have to do most of the calling to the precincts and find out what's going on. And I do understand that they don't have to tell me everything, but every now and then you would want to call to say, you know, we're doing this, that, and that. But it's to the point now where it feels like it's being swept under the rug.
Do you think anyone can understand the level of pain you're feeling? Even the detectives working the case, the community, unless you've gone through it?
Only someone that goes through what you go through will feel it. At some point, I'm wondering if the DAs or everyone who's involved, if they even have kids, sometime I think that way. Because, like, if that was me, I would have been, you know, reached out to the parent. Like, when Shani passed, I had to be calling them, and you just hear your daughter pass, you're in you're in disbelief, you don't know what to do, and at the point, I'm like, what do I do from here? Where do I pick up from here? You call the precinct, you're trying to figure out what goes on, and it's like, you feel like you have to do the investigation yourself. You have to, because I got nowhere. They're like, I'm not sure what's going on. We think it's an accident. What investigation did you guys do to come to the conclusion that it's an accident. They said they couldn't speak to the boys. They couldn't speak to, because the parents wouldn't allow it. So then how you guys redeem it as an accident? And right away, the next week, we were swept into family court because he's a juvenile. For New York, it doesn't go to criminal court. So we went to family court, and he's just sitting there looking as if it's nothing. And I'm sitting on this side crying my eyes out, trying to figure out, is this just a nightmare? Shani's coming home, right? It's just a dream. He's in a group home for 6 months, and the case is over, and that's it. Something has to change. Laws has to change. Things has to be in place. Gun laws, something. I don't know what to do, but I'm at the point where I would do anything to change it, that some other parent don't go through what I went through.
Despite the number of mass shootings in the country, the debate over gun control yields few results. But at the heart of the conversation, there is one key question, and that's what can we do to save lives, especially the lives of children? Our panel of moms share their thoughts. What can we change? What do you want to see lawmakers do differently? You know, law enforcement, what do you want to see them do to stop the gun violence? You talked about laws being changed.
You're giving them a license to kill because nothing's going to be nothing happens when a minor shoots someone and takes someone's life. All I'm getting is he's a juvenile, and this is how it works for juvenile. So you're letting the young kids are going to think they can do anything and get away with it because there's no laws, but they're protected by the law.
It has to be some type of accountability when it comes to access. You know, so if I purchase a gun and my gun ends up in New York and kills someone, I should be accountable for that.
Yep.
I should be accountable for either being reckless and my firearm being stolen and ending up in New York, or just not reporting it at all. And I think because that's not happening, the only ones that are getting consequences for these murders is, once again, our black young men, our black people. And they're not purchasing the guns on it. It's so much more to what's going on. And so I think that that is one of the solutions. You know, it's plenty of solutions, and it's like an all hands on deck thing.
I was going to ask you
know,
about that.
it's all hands on deck, like the mental, and even you talked about the parents being, you know, not in control, but a part of the children's lives. You know, all of that, it plays such a great role. And I think sometimes we try to magnify the things that we think matters when all of it matters. Yeah. Because if your first mindset is to get a gun and shoot, do you know how hot it is and how many people is in front of a NYCHA building in the evening on August 7th? And they just started shooting. That's how my son got killed, for one individual who skipped away.
Wow.
You know, and so it's like, for someone's mindset to even say, like, oh no, he's right there, we're gonna shoot him. Bullets don't have names. We've been saying that for years.
Yes.
You know, it's not like it comes out the chamber like, oh, go right there directly to that person. That's not what happens. Yeah. And so the education that our children even need on how they are impacting our lives. And so I think once we start looking at it, you know, politics, policies, they look at it from their standpoint of ownership of guns. Right. And I'm not saying you can't own a gun, but you need to be responsible and accountable for where it turns. And that's where my anger comes in at now. You know, it comes in with our young people for using them and for messing up lives. But it also comes into the fact that you don't even care that this is messing up our communities and our life.
What about at home? You heard Ms. Karen say parents have to check on their children.
That's right.
What do you think about that?
You check their book bags, their room, their drawers, everything. You have to make sure your children are doing the right thing, because this pain is devastating. It's unbearable. Yes.
With young people, you have to speak with them. You have to know what's going on, because sometimes we're parents and we're all caught up. We have bills and lives and work, and sometimes you overlook your children. But you have to take that time out, even every week, every once so often. Just chit chat. What's going on in your life? So who's this person? So who's that person? You have to try not to let life get, because life gets so busy and hectic for us mothers at times. We're never off the clock. We're working and we come home and we continue to work.
Our children are our children when they're home, right?
Yeah.
That's my Kenneth.
Yeah.
But when Kenneth went outside, he was new money. He was a whole different person. You know, we know our children. We raise our children. But when they go outside, we can't be on top of them all the time. I forgive the person that did this to my child. I'm going to tell you why.
Wow.
My son came to me and told me in a dream, you need to forgive this person that murdered me. You don't know what he was going through. And I said, in the dream, man, Kenneth, get out of here with this. And he said, and I want you to go to church. I said, church? I'm upset with God. You got to be crazy, boy. But in the dream, he's like literally standing there and telling me, you don't know what they were going through. And when he said they, I said they. I said, okay. He said, so you're going to go to church tomorrow? I looked at him and I said, he said, please tell me you're going to forgive them. You're not going to forget, but you're going to forgive the person. Go to church tomorrow and say that. And I got a phone, I text Reese, I said, I'm going to church tomorrow. Let me get this address.
That is powerful. What do you want the police departments to do better?
I want them to do something better. He told me my child is another black child who had no business in Miami.
You feel like there's already stereotype happening with your child who's a victim?
I would
How
like
do we break that?
I'm not sure, but I would like every detective that's involved, treat each and every case as if that's one of your family members. Because if that was one of their family members, it wouldn't have handled that way. Because I'm telling you, I felt the detective, they were so cold. And I'm there the exact day when I was at the hospital and they told me she passed, I went straight to the precinct from there. I didn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. There's not people hanging out stuff to tell you where to go, how this is how you just go along with the flow. And I went right there because that's who I think the police is here to help. So that's where I went. And I was treated as if Shani was the one who did something. Where her body was tossed, I went and spoke with one of the neighbors. Just by me standing there, the lady came over and she was like, was that your little girl? She was like, we knew something wasn't right when we saw them lying there. You could see, she said, we hand over her cameras to the police and everything because they saw when they just tossed her out the car. They threw my child out as if she was an animal there and then drove away the car. And he's just gonna go to a juvenile home for 6 months, and that's it, and life goes on. That's so unfair. Something has to change.
There's one thread here. Someone picked up a gun. What do you want to say to anyone thinking about picking up a gun or someone who's picked up a gun?
I would say it's not worth it. You know, the beef you have today will be over tomorrow.
Yes.
I would say, I know a lot of times we say think before you speak. I would say think before you act because it could happen to you. And how would you feel if it happened to you? And I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but just the fact that someone can pick up a gun and kill your loved one is absurd.
When they're picking up that gun, they want to be the macho man. Yeah, I got a name out here, so you know I got to pull this trigger. But then you're going to do it the rest of your life in jail. And then your friends around you are going to live their life and they're going to forget about your mother.
And I don't want to be unrealistic because I know a lot of these young men put themselves in circumstances that I've heard from some of them that sometimes they feel like they're in too deep. Sometimes they feel like it's either me or them, not realizing that even with that, you still get innocent bystanders.
What would you say to other families that are they're not with us today, but they're going through the same thing you're
You're
going
not
through?
alone.
Just know you're not
You're
alone.
not. You're not
Pray a
alone.
lot.
Pray.
And, you know, find a group because My son died at 16. I met Rissa as she came to the repast. I never joined the group until the trial, where I met another mother that knew Rissa. And she's just been there. She never gave up on me for the 3 years that I didn't. She would call me every month. Hey, Caroline, how you doing? I said, I'm gonna come, never came. But I'm so glad with the support with these ladies.
Yes.
I mean, this lady right here calls me a lot. She always has my back. Me and her talk. I'm just so glad I'm in this group.
There's no one fix.
That's right.
And that's what we learned here. If anything, there's no one fix.
No.
Thank you for joining us for this in-depth conversation about the lifelong impact gun violence has on families in our communities. I'm Nicole Johnson.